According to legend, there were a pair of extraordinary twin brothers, Samaria and Nemesis. They possessed superpowers. They displayed remarkable abilities from a young age, which caused fear among the townspeople. One night, while the family was asleep, they set the house on fire. Yet Samaria and Nemesis emerged unscathed. As time passed, Samaria did not develop hatred towards the world. On the contrary, he chose to use his abilities to protect everyone. Meanwhile, Nemesis embarked on a path of darkness. He resented the townspeople who burned their parents. He harbored hatred towards everyone. He wanted the entire world to feel his wrath. Therefore, the two brothers turned against each other. In order to confront Samaria, Nemesis crafted a giant hammer. This hammer was the only weapon capable of harming Samaria. One night, Nemesis lured him to a power plant. He planned to eliminate his brother first, and then carry out his revenge plan. However, plans don't always go as expected. Their fight caused an explosion at the power plant. Both brothers perished in the incident. Yet, some still believe that Samaria is alive. Sam is one of his believers. This is a 13-year-old child. His father once received help from Samaria, although he later passed away. But this experience is important to Sam. He sees Samaria as a guardian deity. He collects a large amount of information every day, and tries to locate Samaria. Along with Sam, there is another person with the same idea, a journalist who owns a bookstore. Sam once provided him with what he considered to be intelligence. Later, the journalist discovered that they were all trivial matters. Nevertheless, Sam never gave up. He and his mother live in a poor neighborhood. They are often locked out by the landlord due to not having enough money for rent. To make ends meet, young Sam chooses to follow his friend Gene to steal electrical wires from uninhabited houses and sell them. In this kind of place, each area has its own specific gang. The leader of the gang in Sam's area is called Cyrus. The place where they sell the wires is his headquarters. Sam watches the people passing by. His face is filled with curiosity and fear. At this time, a gangster came up to ask Gene if he wanted to work with him. Gene knew that he was not a good person. Gene refuses, but Sam needs money. He volunteers to help. The guy sizes him up and agrees. They plan to rob a supermarket. Sam's task is to distract the store owner, so he puts hot sauce on his forehead. He runs inside, claiming he got hit by a car. The owner drives Sam away with a stick. The thugs take the opportunity to rush in. They grab things and run. By the time the owner notices, Sam has already fled. Back at the hideout, they open the boxes. They find out it's just 2 boxes of potato chips. It was a waste of time. The thug doesn't want to admit it. He wanted to put the blame on Sam. He was not convinced, and stepped forward to argue. The two wrestled. Young Sam could not beat the other party. Cyrus appears. He scolds them. He greatly admires Sam's spirit of not giving up even when oppressed at the bottom. He gives him $200. 100 is Sam's deserved reward. The other 100 is what Cyrus wants to give him. Told him that there might be tasks for Sam in the future. After returning home, Sam sees his mother arguing with the landlord. He takes out $100 and pays the rent. His mother asks where the money came from. He can't say. At this moment, Sam doesn't know that his life is about to change. The next day when he goes out on the street, he encounters the same thugs from yesterday. They remember Sam's resistance. They are prepared to teach him a lesson. Seeing the situation is not good, Sam starts running. But where can he run to? He is quickly surrounded by them. Just when Sam thinks he's about to get hurt, Sam knows this person. He is Joe, a poor old man who lives in the opposite building, and makes a living by collecting garbage. Unexpectedly, he has such skills. Sam is helped up. The thug swings the knife and stabs at him. Joe turned around and grabbed the blade and bent it. He did not kill him. He drops the knife and leaves. Sam says, "Samaria." He picks up the knife and smiles. Sam firmly believes that Joe is Samaria. After returning home, he observes Joe with a telescope. He sees the scars on Joe's back from being burned. This further strengthens Sam's belief. He finds the journalist and explains the situation. However, the journalist says that these clues alone don't prove anything. On the other side, Cyrus and his men bring a batch of explosives to the evidence room of the police station. They throw an explosive at the guard. He is blown to pieces on the spot. Cyrus is a big fan of Nemesis. Think that he is the god of the people at the bottom, represents revenge, and Samaria is just the umbrella protecting the wealthy and the police. Nemesis is the real fair. Cyrus knows that Nemesis weapons and mask are in the evidence room of the police station. He came to retrieve these items. Cyrus wants to recreate the scene of Nemesis' revenge from years ago. Let his unfinished fire of revenge reignite. On Sam's side, he sneaked into Joe's house through the window while Joe was out. He found a notebook containing information about Samaria. This further confirms Joe's identity as Samaria. Sam is excited and takes the notebook back home to keep as a memento. Joe returns home and realizes something is wrong when he sees the trash can outside the window. However, by the time Joe gets home, Sam has already left. Joe quickly realizes that the notebook is missing and goes to Sam's house to ask for it. Sam's mother becomes very angry upon learning about Sam's actions. However, she knows that her son is not a bad person. She pleads with Joe not to call the police, and Joe doesn't want to make things difficult for them. He nods and leaves. Unbeknownst to him, he has already been targeted by the thugs. Sam still hasn't given up, and he quickly finds Joe again. Ask him if it was not Samaria. Why was there that account book? Joe casually said he is also a fan of Samaria, and he doesn't want to discuss these issues. He turned his head and walked away. Sam felt Joe's explanation was far-fetched.
Listen, kid.
The hooligans laughed and left. Joe collapsed on the ground unconscious. Sam walked over to his side, contemplating whether to call the police. But the next second, Joe suddenly opened his eyes. His dislocated bones realigned, and smoke rose from his body. Sam helped Joe back to his home. Joe took a cold shower, took out ice cream from the fridge and started eating it. Sam was extremely excited, because a normal person would have died if he was hit like that. Joe miraculously unharmed. This almost proves his identity as a Sumerian. Joe did not refute. He told Sam, when he's injured, his body temperature rapidly increases. So, he needs cold water and ice to cool down. Otherwise, his heart would explode. That evening, Cyrus put on the mask of Nemesis. He raised a hammer and delivered a speech in the chaotic neighborhood, inciting everyone for revenge. Cyrus quickly stirred up those who were long dissatisfied with society. Meanwhile, Sam, following Joe all day. Joe didn't drive him away. He seemed to have tacitly accepted Samaria's identity. Sam asked him curiously, "Why live this way?" Joe didn't answer, just said that he liked to be alone. Sam confided in him how he and his mother were constantly bullied. He wanted to learn how to fight, so he could protect his mother. Joe looked at the young child in front of him, and seemed to be interested. He started teaching Sam some martial arts, but Joe repeatedly cautioned, fighting is not a good or right thing to do. He should escape instead. If someone bullies his mother, then he should ambush them and escape again. But he must assess his own strength carefully. Otherwise, it's easy to lose one's life. After a day of training, Joe gave Sam a basin of ice water. He asked him to put his injured hand in it, so that the pain could be relieved. Sam asked Joe why he was enthusiastic about repairing electrical appliances. Joe said meaningfully, "These old things deserve a second chance." But after talking about it, the topic returned to Nemesis. Sam heard that evening he was going to blow up the power plant, putting the entire city in danger. Upon hearing this, he turned hostile. He drove Sam away. As Sam was leaving, he unexpectedly encountered Cyrus. The other party invited Sam to help with work. He thought about the money he could earn, so the child agreed. Cyrus liked Sam a lot, but his henchmen were different, especially those thugs. They always had a grudge against Sam. However, with Cyrus around, they couldn't do much. Sam's task was simple. When Cyrus and his gang did bad things, he had to keep watch. If the police came, he had to whistle. But Sam didn't know how to whistle.
What?
The days working under Cyrus were not easy. On that day, Sam saw them capture a police officer, interrogating in the warehouse. Sam overheard Cyrus planning to blow up the power plant, and that police officer almost exposed the situation, so he was ruthlessly silenced, hiding in the shadows. Sam was completely terrified. He didn't dare make a sound, afraid that he would be the next victim. That evening, Sam wanted to find Joe. He saw Cyrus's thugs bullying Gene. He stepped in to help, but his arm was broken by someone's attack. Luckily, Joe saw this from the window. Seeing the healthy Joe, the thugs were terrified. They quickly fled the scene. Joe took Sam to the hospital and explained the situation to his mother. The other party blamed Joe for not saving him. He was too lazy to argue. The next day, the thugs went back to report that Joe was still alive, but the car they drove that day had a shattered windshield. How could someone still be alive? Cyrus became interested. He wanted them to bring Joe for an introduction. These individuals quickly found him. Joe realized someone was following him. Joe led them to a relatively less crowded place. The other party didn't waste words. They directly explained their intentions. Joe didn't want trouble. He advised them not to provoke him, but no one took him seriously. A fierce battle was inevitable. Joe planned to defeat them and leave, but he was seen by a little girl. Joe warned her not to speak about this. The next moment, one of the thugs threw a bomb from behind. Onlookers took out their phones to record. Joe quickly left. This incident quickly made the news. Everyone said that Samaritan had come to protect everyone. Of course, Sam also saw this news. He found Joe and told him about Cyrus's plan, hoping Joe would intervene to stop him, but Joe refused. He couldn't help. Sam didn't believe it. The hero he admired turned out to be so weak. He angrily left. On the other side, Cyrus and his group also saw the news. Learning that Samaritan had reappeared, he found it hard to accept. Why did Nemesis die while this guy was still alive? Cyrus took his hammer and had someone lead the way. He was prepared to kill Samaritan for Nemesis, but Joe had already moved away. Meanwhile, Sam on the opposite building, upon seeing the crowd, immediately realized something was wrong. He pulled his mother to escape. They were quickly discovered by Cyrus and his group. They all knew that Sam had a good relationship with Joe. They believed Sam knew Joe's whereabouts. Soon Cyrus and his group cornered Sam on the rooftop. Cyrus didn't want to harm him or his mother. He just wanted to find out Joe's whereabouts. But Sam didn't know either. Cyrus thought for a moment. Since Joe cared about Sam so much, when he learned that Sam was in danger, Joe would definitely come to rescue him. And so, Sam was captured. Later on, Joe came to find him, only to see Sam's mother beaten. Knowing that he was captured, Joe couldn't just stand by. After all these years, he had wanted to live a normal life, but he couldn't hide it anymore. Joe got into his car. Using flammable material from the trunk, he made a makeshift timed bomb. He arrived at Cyrus's base. The guards outside started shooting. Joe stepped on the accelerator and charged forward. He crashed through the wall. He emerged from the car. People around him shot frantically at him. Fortunately, Joe had his superpowers to protect him. They couldn't harm him at all. In order to save Sam, Joe quickly began to counterattack. He had no weapons, but everything around him could be used as his weapon. Even though Cyrus's side had more people, they couldn't overcome Joe. Watching as the people below were completely defeated, Cyrus appeared with another group of people. Cyrus swung the hammer and hit Joe. It was the only weapon that could harm him. Joe took a hit and nearly passed out. Cyrus continued to taunt him as an inept do-gooder, mocking Samaritan as a joke. He hit Joe with a hammer. In a daze, he remembered the battle from years ago. Things were different from the legends. Samaria fell from the roof that year, nearly falling from a great height. It was Nemesis who caught him. At a critical moment, neither of them could bring themselves to kill, but Nemesis didn't have time to bring Samaritan up. He fell into the sea of fire and died on the spot. The one who survived wasn't Samaritan. It was Nemesis, that is, Joe. He reached out and blocked. Cyrus hit the hammer again, telling him that he wasn't that good person.
I'm the bad guy!
Before everyone could recover, the bomb exploded. Everyone was blown out. Only Joe remained unaffected. He reclaimed his hammer. Cyrus realized disaster was imminent. He commanded his men to shoot and fled with Sam. Cyrus shackled him to the rooftop water pipe. He gave the order to activate the pre-prepared device to shut down the city's power. It was a signal. Once the power was cut off, those inspired by Cyrus would start causing havoc. Meanwhile, on the other side, Joe was still fighting fiercely. He smashed 4 supporting columns, killing everyone on that level. He carried his hammer on his back and went to find Sam. The remaining people hid in the elevator.
Going my way!
Finally, there was only one enemy left on this level. He took out the bomb with trembling. Joe put the bomb into the opponent's flesh. He pressed the switch and left.
Have a blast.
At this moment, the whole building was on fire because of the explosion. Cyrus put on Nemesis' mask, awaiting the arrival of his counterpart. There was no turning back. Joe is completely different from the Nemesis in Cyrus's mind. He didn't accept this god of revenge. Soon, Joe arrived. He had aged. Even if one has superpowers, they are still not deities. Joe didn't see Cyrus, so he dropped the hammer and approached Sam. Cyrus was actually lying in ambush. He picked up the hammer to launch a surprise attack. Joe resisted but was immediately knocked away. He struggled to avoid the collapsing floor. His body temperature began to rise at this moment. Joe's heart couldn't take it anymore, but he couldn't fall at this moment. Joe climbed up, continuing to confront Cyrus. The opponent kicked him down. Joe grabbed the edge of the pit. Below was a sea of fire. His situation at this time is just like Samaria back then. Watching Joe trapped in a dangerous situation, Sam started pulling on the water pipe. Enduring the pain from impacts, he pulled the pipe apart. Sneak attack on Cyrus to help Joe complete his counterattack. He held Cyrus against the hammer. He bent the thick handle of the hammer. Trapped Cyrus. At this moment, the god of revenge descended once again. Joe ignored Cyrus's pleas for mercy. Solved him. Joe fell to the ground, steaming from his body. Sam quickly smashed the faucet nearby. Help him cool down. Only then did he save his life. At this point, the building was about to collapse. Joe carried Sam and rushed out, crashing through the wall, jumping into a room in the opposite building. Joe didn't want to attract attention. He told Sam, people shouldn't just listen to rumors. Everyone has both good and evil sides. Joe didn't want to expose his identity, nor did he want to cause trouble, and he didn't want to change that rumor. Sam pondered for a moment. Regardless of the rumors, at least he knew Nemesis was a good person now. Sam respected Joe's wishes. When he was interviewed, he said Samaritan saved him. Let those in despair feel hope. Perhaps that's also a good thing. Joe, concealed in the crowd, nodded. The movie ends here. The film is titled Samaritan, starring Sylvester Stallone. An elderly man nearing 80 can still make action movies. It's indeed quite remarkable. If you like my channel, please subscribe to my channel.